Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Johnson, let's follow up on what you were just saying. You stated in your testimony that, quote, we are in danger of falling far behind China in mid-band licensed spectrum that can support wide area coverage. I very much agree. And I'm worried that this gap will have repercussions beyond 5G and 6G and will harm our leadership in the industries built on top of wireless networks, from advanced manufacturing to AI to next-generation app development. Mr. Johnson, in your judgment, why is legislation like the Spectrum Pipeline Act, with defined timelines for auctions, so critical to preventing our adversaries from overtaking U.S. wireless leadership?
Thank you, Senator. We have a national spectrum strategy, we have an implementation plan, we have studies. What we need is a pipeline. All of those things lead to a pipeline, but we can't get to a pipeline without a statute. So we need a statute that gives the FCC the authority that it had for 30 years until a year ago, and so that we can have a new pipeline, particularly for where we're so far behind in the wide area coverage licensed midband.
And expand on that for a moment. Why is licensed wide area full power coverage such a critical part of America's spectrum pipeline?
I'd say for two reasons. One negative. One is it's the only part of our ecosystem where we're behind. We have the best weapons and defense systems in the world. As Mary articulated, we have the best unlicensed and Wi-Fi capabilities in the world. We presently have the best network infrastructure in the world, but we're in danger of falling behind. And it's that network infrastructure that will be a crucial component of the future 5G infrastructure. That's what's built by Huawei and ZTE and others. So we have to secure that, as is evidenced by the rip and replace need. So we have to secure the infrastructure, and that's where the arteries, so to speak, come into play.
Thank you. Dr. Furchtgott Roth, you're a well-respected economist and a former FCC commissioner. I have to say I'm concerned by your assessment of the paralyzed state of our domestic spectrum policy. Do we need more studies and deliberation, or do we need real action to restore our wireless leadership?
Senator, we need action. We don't need more studies. We don't need more committees or bureaucracies. We need action.
And speaking as an economist, how important are strong property rights in promoting an efficient spectrum marketplace? If licenses are shared, either with federal users or among commercial users, how would that limit the ability of licenses to maximize their spectrum resources?
Property rights are extraordinarily important for efficient markets and for economic growth. There can be property rights in all different types of spectrum and different usage arrangements, but we need to clarify those. And the nation that leads in defining better property rights in spectrum is the nation, I believe, that will dominate the 21st century.
Thank you. Ms. Rinaldo, you've stressed the importance of a spectrum pipeline to broaden the supply chain for next-generation wireless networks. Putting on your hat as the former acting head of NTIA, can pipeline legislation and incentives for agencies to move out of certain bands help to break the bureaucratic logjam in getting licensed spectrum into the marketplace?
Absolutely. I think that's the one thing that we've consistently seen across the board. Money is not a motivating factor for the agency, so we need to reimagine incentives that are going to allow them to move and upgrade their technologies.
And in your judgment, how will the Spectrum Pipeline Act of 2024 open the door for U.S. manufacturers like Mavenir, a homegrown Texas company, NVIDIA, and Broadcom, to compete against Huawei and ZTE and to encourage foreign companies to manufacture more equipment in the U.S., as Samsung has done recently in Texas?
Yeah, it might sound cliche, but first mover's advantage. And we've seen that already, especially in your backyard at Telecom Corridor in Dallas with Fujitsu, who moved their networking business here about 2 years ago.
And Ms. Brown, I also believe the United States needs to maintain its leadership in Wi-Fi, which is why the Spectrum Pipeline Act of 2024 requires the FCC to allocate at least 125 megahertz for unlicensed use and potentially up to 1,250 megahertz. How would the unlicensed allocation in the Spectrum Pipeline Act help us counter Huawei and ZTE's influence abroad?
Well, first of all, thank you for that part of your bill. That would be an extremely helpful addition to the unlicensed portfolio, particularly if we can position it contiguous to the existing 6 gigahertz band, for which there are already standards and for which we could ship equipment tomorrow. So that would be a tremendous show of American leadership as the world continues to look at this part of the spectrum. If we learned anything from the World Radio Conference, if we stick together as a country, we can get done what we need to get done. And that would be a great asset to the Wi-Fi community.
Thank you.
Senator Welch.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair and the ranking member, I want to thank you for this hearing. And